What up, YouTube? It's Nisi. So this is going to be a video talking about my Korea trip for the first half. I'm going to do this and then probably one when I get back. And I'm just going to be telling you about my experiences so far, what I've seen on the ladder, the differences between the NA ladder and the Korean ladder, my experiences as a player, and just what to expect, I guess, in the next 2 weeks from my stream and from my channel. So I told you guys I would do this, so let's not waste any time. The first thing is the first week was a struggle, like ridiculous. Getting acclimated to a foreign country is hard. It's something I feel like at times I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. I'd planned this out with COWSEP. He offered to assist me, gave me his laptop to use. The first week, the room that we'd picked out, well, he picked out, the internet was messed up. So we had to move to a goshtel, which is, this is the place that I'm in is called a living tel, and essentially I'm in like a storage closet right now, playing League every day. But once I got situated, everything was a-okay. COWSEP'S laptop was great, but the initial, it needed tweaks. My first account that I was using, the unranked account, or it was like a silver account, it was compromised. Someone logged into it. Then I had to adapt to the ping. Like once I finally got set up in Korea, once I got situated, I had to adapt to the faster games and the lower ping and playing on a new setup. And oh my gosh. And then the food and the sleep, getting used to just eating food in and around the city, finding food, communicating with people when you don't speak the language, and just navigating things on your own is really tough. And I missed my first flight. So I was 24 hours late to the location of Korea. So my first week here was, I mean, I'm doing better now, but my first week of getting situated was rough. I definitely, if I ever do a trip like this, if I ever do like an EU West thing or whatever in the future, I will definitely plan this a lot better and double, triple check my insurance policies and make sure that everything is in order and moving before I get on ground because that was rough. I was struggling. So, what you guys want to talk about, I'm sure, the question that everyone asks on stream is what the differences between the servers are. You're going to get different opinions from different players. I am speaking as a guy who is primarily a top lane player. I was going to rotate to jungle for this trip. I changed my mind at the last minute before I left because I felt like jungle wasn't that. Jungle's still strong and probably the second strongest role, but it wasn't like OP AFK farm role that it was last season, so I didn't think it was going to be as easy, and I was right. It's a lot harder now to be effective than it was last season. So I stuck with top lane, my bread and butter. So my opinions are my own, and they are from the opinions of mostly a solo player. I've started dabbling with solo queue or with duo queue teammates that I found, primarily junglers for better win rates. But these opinions are mostly solo top. Korean server, the Koreans definitely have better mechanics. Bar none. It's interesting though because there's a lot of cons with this that we're going to get into, but ultimately when I first got here I was amazed because a lot of the silver gold guys that I was playing against in lane were way better than in mechanically in lane were way better. However, Koreans are definitely more toxic, which is funny because I can't understand half the stuff they're saying, but I find that every game there are people rage typing. I mean, just typing paragraphs of rage, just raging after a bad play, non-stop, just start to finish. I've never seen anything like it. It's ridiculous. The games are way faster than NA. NA games are generally, they feel slower and they feel longer. And I'm sure there's statistics to back that, but you don't, people talk about it and then you actually experience it. The games are definitely faster. People leave base more often. People invade more often. People challenge way more often. People don't want to play a long game. Now, as a result, Korean's late game is awful. And by that I mean uh, most of the time when a match goes to 25, 30, I mean, even some of the mid-game stuff, you can see the players that were once like great in lane, you see them start to make really dumb moves. I've had players that I've seen be 10-0, 12-0, looking like lane gods, and then I'll just catch them out in the middle of the map somewhere doing something that no rational human being would do. To the point of where it's so radically different to where I questioned. I was like, well, maybe just NA players are just better at like mid to late game. Maybe that's what it is because that's how it feels. It feels like their laning is so good in Korea, from what I've seen, and then to turn around and like not even 10 minutes later, it's like they're in a whole nother league like they've just demoted to a whole different league. So I think the Korean late game is really bad. I think that many of the players have trouble understanding like when to push turrets. A lot of players don't know how to deal with split push, and I think mostly it's because they want to quit. They want to give up a lot more. They want to surrender a lot more. If the game's going bad, NA players will bitch, but they'll mostly play. The open mid stuff is getting a little bit more popular at NA, but it's not even close. It's not. This was a rough week for games for me. We'll talk about that with the results, but that's what I've seen. Koreans, we talked about their early game being much better. Koreans listen to pings more. If you ping something when you're leaving base, if you ping, you don't even have to type. You just ping. You can communicate without saying a word, and they'll listen to you more often than NA players ever will. In terms of climb speed, I did 100 games to Diamond. When I try hard, 100 games to Diamond, I normally make it pretty quick, especially with unranked accounts. If I'm trying to play my best champs, it's normally like 50 or 60 games. This was no different. We made Diamond in like 60 games. After I got the new unranked account out here in Korea, it was very, very fast. I didn't have any problems. I had about 75% win rate, I think. So yeah, roughly the same climb speed, but there's definitely some differences. Shorter, faster games, you gotta expect that. A lot more raging, and in general, just anytime someone starts bitching and sits in the base, it's best to just leave it because they're not going to come out of it. Now, my results. Unranked to Diamond, Diamond 3, 30 LP in 2 weeks. I think I could, if I did this again, I think I would do it better the next time, but obviously, live and learn. I wrote big huge for some reason. I think I meant to write huge wall or big wall. For some reason I wrote big huge. Big wall in Diamond 4 or 5 range, much like NA. Basically what happens is if you're playing solo, if you're smurfing and you're above the MMR or above that level of play, traditionally you can just accelerate through the ladder up until about Diamond 5. You'll start getting like Diamond 3, Diamond 2s. And what happens is the game starts becoming who is autofilled more and who's on their best champs more often. Every so often you run into a guy who's probably could be Diamond or high Diamond on his roll, a guy who's probably gold on his off roll. So I hit a pretty big wall around like Diamond 5, Diamond 4. I messed around with some passive champs. I kept trying to play GP, not very successful. I kept trying to play NASUS, not very successful. Even the Quas style, not very successful. I basically just tried to play my lane safe and smart. Many a time, games would just end or people would just AFK before anything even happened. So I started playing TRYN more and Rumble more to play the early game, and I've had better results in the past few days because of that. And I think that's just the reality of the game in Korea, is that you have to expect people are not thinking macro at all. They just want to throw their chance at least in every game. At least every game. COWSEP'S every game. They just want to throw like those champs. Anytime someone steps off of that, it doesn't go well for them. So the game is fast, and you have to adapt to that. And yeah, the Korean early game is very, very good. So just play towards that. And if they don't like their early game, they want to quit. So That's basically how it's been for me. I think that now I'm just gonna be sticking to that strategy as opposed to trying to play scaling champs. Like Hooney, for example, he played Gangplank in the Korean LCK, and he did very, very well with it. So I started playing it, but the problem is you kind of need a good jungler. So it's just an example. Like if you play a weak lane, you're gonna get dove a lot, just like you would on NA really, but probably worse. And more frequently, the top laner that you're facing is going to know how to do it better than NA players, so you have to adapt. So in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to aim for Masters Challenger. I don't know if Challenger is possible. Masters definitely possible. Challenger, if I grind the games and a little luck comes into play before I leave. But I think I can make Masters at least. Um, I'm going to be banning Jason Rise, and I'm going to be playing a lot more Tryndamere and a lot more Rumble too, but Tryndamere mostly because I don't think Koreans know how to deal with the split push at all. I truly believe that the macro play is awful in Korea. I think it's terrible. I think that we hype them up, and for good reason mechanically, but I just think, based on my experiences, if I'm ahead and I'm split pushing, people just make so many mistakes in those situations. It's hilarious, actually, like rotational mistakes and shit like that. Uh, Pay more attention to autofills research. So I have to use op.gg more because if I'm not paying attention, basically Koreans do the same thing that NA players do, where they play a role that they can't play because their egos are big, and they'll just autofill support, go blitzcrank, even though they're 10% win rate over 15 games, and they won't try to dodge. If you're not paying attention, they'll let the game go through, and they'll go like 0-12 and auto lose you the game. What I call auto loss games. You have to research to try to avoid them. And if quitting happens on your team, just don't fight it. Just quickly open the game. There's no point. The Koreans do this thing, and LS actually coined the term. Last Shadow, the other coach who lives out here, he called it passive inting, I think is I think it's what he said. They do that all the time. So even if you motivate someone, even if you're like 10-1 and like super fed, you can ping them. But what they'll do is they will come out of base and then they just won't try. They'll basically stand around and like won't use abilities and will just make you lose. So it's better if someone's mental just collapses, if they just psychologically shut down. There's no way to win with Koreans. Just open, just move on, because you're not, I'm telling you right now, it's way worse. And not only is it way worse, you can't communicate with them anyways. So maybe if you speak Korean, but even still, they need to be the carry, and if they're not the star of the show, they don't know how to play mid game and late game anyway. I know it sounds like I don't. I'm telling you, I've played here now about 150, 200 games. That's how it is. Um, and yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. More Rumble Tryndamere stuff from the top lane, and more emphasizing winning lane, and then outplaying mid to late game with superior rotations, better pushing. You get the picture. Now, something a little lax before I go and get back to grinding. These are my favorite Korean server quotes. This is what happens when Koreans get mad. The number one Korean thing to say is to bring your mom into it. Literally, it sounds like Xbox Live. Not even kidding. They say like your mom boom, dead, dying, your mom missing, your mom in the sky. So, your mom likes sex. Anything to do with your mom. There's no originality. That's the primary one. Like 9 times out of 10, if you're getting insulted, my name is clearly an American name. It's American Eagle, so I get the brunt of that very often. Don't enemy, which was a teammate who I carried, saying that I guess that he didn't want me to go on the other team if we re-queued. So he said don't enemy and then left, which I think was great. Why don't you shoot your family, which is it's almost poetic. And then the Korean LOL. That gets spammed all the time. Sabal SB. I get Sabal means noob, and then like SB, I think means like I think that's just like stupid boy or you know some. I think that's Chinese. I think it's like you just suck. And I read it as soon as I read it, I immediately associate it with shitbag. And then my personal favorite. This one happened off stream when I was playing. Someone said when I died in a team fight, or I died. I think I died split pushing, and I like didn't ult in time or something. It's Tryndamere, and the guy basically said that I'm Trump. He said you are Trump. So yeah, that's that's the that's my favorite so far. I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones that stick in my head most often. And yeah, that's it. That's my 2 weeks being here. Um, Getting acclimated was tough. Now I'm here. I'm doing better, and I'm gonna keep pushing for the next 2 weeks. See where we wind up. Maybe I'll make Masters. If I'm really lucky, maybe I'll make Challenger. But I think I'm getting the hang of it, and I'm playing a lot. So my actual like game skill, I've learned so much. I've been watching a lot of my own gameplays, other streamers' gameplays. Uh, Kind of motivates you to improve when you're out here, obviously, and the ping is lovely. So I appreciate all you guys supporting me, all the Twitch fans, all the Patreon peeps, into the AM, the close, um, and I just want to keep doing a good job for you guys and hope that stuff like this happens in the future. So if you if you want to ask me any questions, make good ones. Don't make fucking weak ass meme questions in my comments. Write some real shit and I'll try to answer if I see some good stuff. And you can always at me on Twitter. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this trip. And the next 2 weeks we're gonna get after it. All right. I'll see you when I get back in the States. I'm out. Peace. Crackers. Thank you so much.